And the next topic we're going to cover is also going to be something really important for the CSS. So it's also might take us a little bit longer, right? So here we're going to be covering what is block and what are the inline elements over here, right? So again, we still have the same thing, right? So we have heading 1, we have paragraph, and over here we have a link, right? So if we go back to main CSS, and again, we're just going to apply some colors over here, right? So again, we're going to do very basic, right? We're going to say this is going to be a background color, or here red, or here like this. Okay, then for the link, we're going to say this, for the paragraph, we're going to say this is going to be blue. Background color, we're going to say blue, over here like this. And then for the link, we're going to say background color green. All right, so we're going to go over here and we're going to say this is going to be a link, and the background color is going to be green, right? Now, the interesting thing that we're noticing, right? Why, let's say this blue color, right? Even though there is no text over here, it actually expands all the way to the right and all the way to the left. And it's the same for the heading 1, but over here for the link, it doesn't work like that, right? So you can see that it only covers as big as the text is, right? So obviously if we would do the padding, right, it would work the same way, right? We would still expand like 20 over here like this, but it wouldn't in general go all the way like this over here, right? And the reason for that is that some elements are block elements that actually span by default from one side all the way to another one, right? And some elements are inline elements, right? And it is actually important for many reasons, and one of the most common one would be for the layout, right? So let me show you what I'm talking about, right? So first we need to understand that this is going to be inline element and these two are block elements, right? So I'm going to go back over here on the top. And for the body, right, I'm going to do very simple, right? I'm going to say that this is going to be text align, and I'm going to say center, right? So interesting happen things, right? So you can see the text goes over here, right? But over here, this whole thing, my whole link actually went into the center, right? However, these ones, there's nothing for them to go, right? Only the text can go, right? The actual width over here, right? Width of this box didn't actually change, right? It is because it is a block element, right? So what we would do over here, if we would want to, let's say, center them, right? Let's say we would need to have, first of all, a width property, right? And I'm going to say the width is, let's say, going to be like 200 pixels over here, right? So now I can see, again, I have a width, right? Now it's not spanning all across, but still it is not affected by this text inline center, right? So what if we change this, right? What if I would say that this is going to be display? I'm going to say inline, right? Now you can see that it actually went and right away and was in the center, right? Now, if we would want to actually center the whole box over here, what I would do is I'm going to do a little CSS. Well, I wouldn't call it a trick, but over here we say margin 0. So margin, I mean, if you want the margin, you can add the margin, but in general, you just do margin 0. And then we have auto over here, right? And what happens is that we have a margin left auto and margin right auto, right? And then if we have the width for the block element, but just remember that it's very important to have actual width, then this is how we can center a block element, right? Like this. But for the inline, it's very simple. We just put a text align center, and it actually goes here in the center. And also you need to remember that the images are actually inline elements, right? So if you want to basically simply center a image, right, you can actually do it just by text align because it actually is an inline element. Now, what's something I already covered, right? But what we can do over here is we can change the display property, right? So over here we say display, and I'm going to say this is going to be the block, and you see what happens, right? So now I'm actually spanning this guy all the way across, right? Even though it was inline, I actually changed the display. So it's not an inline anymore, right? This is actually a block element. The same over here, I can change this guy, right? I'm going to say display, I'm going to say display inline. And over here you can see what happens, right? So right away, I actually lost all the size of it, right? Left to the right. And over here, it is actually displaying in the center because we have the text align property, right? And again, those things we're going to be covering more and more once we start actually working on the projects. because I can tell you honestly, guys, we can cover as much as we want the theory, right? But in the practice, the moment you're actually going to hit the road and you're going to start actually building, this is when it's going to hit you like a brick wall. So whatever suggestions I give you right now, the only time you're actually going to learn when you actually need to accomplish something. So right now we're just covering the basics, and we're covering pretty much in general strokes. But once we start building stuff, right, that's where actually we're going to start to get to know them, right, and start to actually work with them.